Today, we're exploring the key ideas from the telomere effect by Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn. This is an independent educational overview enriched with our own integrative analysis and actionable exercises. Think of it as a guided reflection to spark your own insights, not a replacement for reading the book itself. The fundamental mystery of why some individuals age with robust vitality while others succumb prematurely to illness finds a compelling explanation at the microscopic level, within our very cells. Imagine two friends, both navigating life's complexities. One seems perpetually worn, battling frequent ailments and radiating an energy that belies her chronological age, while the other exudes a vibrant resilience, her steps light, her mind sharp. This striking divergence isn't just superficial, it's etched onto their cellular fabric, separating a prolonged health span, years lived in vigorous well-being, from an encroaching disease span marked by chronic illness. For too long, fate or immutable genetic predisposition bore the brunt of explanation. Yet a revolutionary understanding reveals that our lifestyle choices, emotional responses, social environments, and even the very food we consume actively engage with our cellular machinery, profoundly shaping our aging trajectory. At the heart of this dynamic process lie tiny protective caps on our chromosomes, called telomeres. Much like the plastic aglets preventing shoelaces from fraying, telomeres safeguard our precious genetic material from damage during cell division. With each cellular replication, telomeres naturally shorten, a process that historically seemed an unalterable march towards senescence, where cells cease to divide and begin to malfunction, contributing to tissue aging and chronic disease. However, groundbreaking research demonstrates that this cellular clock is remarkably responsive. Telomeres can, in fact, lengthen, and their health is keenly attuned to our daily existence. The body possesses an innate capacity to foster healthy cellular renewal, to shift us from an accelerated path of premature aging towards a longer, more vibrant health span. This profound insight empowers us to become active architects of our cellular longevity, recognizing that our biology is not fixed, but fluid, adaptable, and fundamentally capable of responding to conscious engagement. The outward manifestations of aging, a gradual thinning of the skin, a subtle decline in memory, or the onset of persistent aches, are merely the visible symptoms of deeper cellular processes. When an individual feels or appears older than their chronological years, it often signals an accelerated internal decline, propelling them into an earlier disease span rather than an extended period of robust health. At the core of this cellular acceleration is the emergence of senescent cells. Picture a fruit bowl where a few pieces have begun to spoil. These decaying fruits, akin to senescent cells, don't merely sit idly. They actively harm their neighbors by releasing a barrage of inflammatory substances, collectively known as senescence-associated secretory phenotype. This constant internal alarm fosters widespread low-grade inflammation throughout the body, a phenomenon termed inflammaging, which is a significant contributor to a host of age-related ailments, from metabolic disorders to cardiovascular disease and certain cancers. These retired senescent cells were once vibrant and actively regenerating tissues across our body, from the immune system and gut lining to skin, bone, and brain regions vital for memory. However, their protective chromosomal caps, the telomeres, have become critically short, signaling an end to their division cycle. When this happens, their internal energy factories, mitochondria, falter, DNA communication becomes compromised, and cellular debris accumulates. The direct consequences of this cellular wear and tear are profound. For instance, when the specialized cells responsible for producing skin layers, building bone, or maintaining hair pigment encounter shortened telomeres, their capacity for self-renewal diminishes. This leads to the familiar signs of aged skin, thinning, pallor, spots, and wrinkles, as well as bone loss and graying hair. Intriguingly, individuals perceived by others as looking older often exhibit shorter telomeres, alongside more subtle indicators of diminished physical and cognitive function. This suggests that external appearance can indeed serve as a quiet signal of deeper cellular distress. The brain itself is not immune. Shorter telomeres are associated with earlier cognitive problems and can predict a more rapid decline in overall cognitive function in older adults. Research using brain imaging has even revealed a correlation between shorter telomeres and reduced volume in critical brain regions involved in memory and emotion, areas notoriously affected in conditions like Alzheimer's disease. This establishes a direct biological link between the health of these protective caps and the preservation of mental sharpness and vitality. Our understanding of these vital cellular structures began in unlikely biological subjects. Early investigations into single-celled cond organisms with numerous tiny chromosomes revealed specific repetitive DNA sequences at their ends. These sequences were not genetic code, but served as a physical buffer, much like the plastic tips that keep shoelaces from unraveling. In humans, these protective caps, known as telomeres, are composed of repeating patterns of DNA. Their primary function is to safeguard our genetic instructions during the crucial process of cell division, preventing chromosomes from fusing, fraying, or mutating. However, with each cellular division, a small segment of the telomere is naturally lost, leading to their gradual shortening over time, a fundamental aspect of cellular aging. This shortening, while an inherent biological process, is not an unchangeable trajectory. A revolutionary discovery unveiled an enzyme capable of countering this natural attrition, telomerase. Initially identified in tiny pond organisms, telomerase acts as a biological builder, meticulously constructing new DNA segments and adding them to the ends of telomeres, thereby replenishing these critical protective caps. This groundbreaking insight challenged the prevailing notion of DNA as a purely fixed blueprint, revealing an astonishing capacity for cellular renewal. However, the power of telomerase comes with a crucial caveat, highlighting a delicate balance within the body. While insufficient telomerase leads to prematurely short telomeres and increased cellular vulnerability, an unchecked or excessive activation of telomerase can be dangerous. Cancer cells, for example, often hijack this enzyme, turning it into an engine for their uncontrolled proliferation and immortality. Artificially boosting telomerase without proper regulation could potentially push healthy cells towards cancerous growth. The key, therefore, is not to maximize telomerase at all costs, but to ensure its healthy, regulated action within the body, a process that our physiology is inherently capable of managing when supported by optimal conditions. Remarkably, this intrinsic capacity is profoundly influenced by our life experiences and how we navigate them, forming the bedrock of a new paradigm where we are active stewards of our cellular longevity. The inner landscape, mind, emotion, and telomere resilience. Our inner world of thoughts and emotions, often perceived as an abstract realm, profoundly and measurably impacts our cellular well-being, particularly the health of our telomeres. Our ingrained patterns of thinking and responding to life's pressures write a biological script that resonates deep within our cells. Consider the pervasive impact of chronic, unrelenting stress. Studies on individuals enduring relentless demands, such as long-term caregivers for chronically ill children, have starkly illustrated this connection. Years of such profound emotional and physical strain demonstrably erode the protective caps on chromosomes. The longer and more intensely stress is felt, the shorter the telomeres become, and the activity of telomerase, the enzyme responsible for their maintenance, diminishes. This sustained state of internal alert floods the body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, leading to physiological responses like increased heart rate and reduced parasympathetic activity, all directly implicated in accelerating telomere shortening. However, not all stress is detrimental, nor do all individuals respond to it identically. Brief, manageable stressors can actually strengthen our coping mechanisms and even enhance cellular function, much like how a moderate physical challenge can fortify muscles. It is the prolonged, high-dose exposure to severe, chronic stressors that acts as a slow poison to cellular health. Yet, even in the face of unavoidable difficulties, our perception and response to these challenges hold immense power. When confronted with adversity, people typically lean towards one of two primary responses. The threat response, an ancient survival mechanism, primes the body for crisis. Blood vessels constrict, blood flow to the brain is reduced, and high levels of cortisol are released. Emotionally, it manifests as fear, anxiety, and a sense of being overwhelmed or defeated. Individuals habitually adopting this response, especially those who anticipate negative outcomes, tend to exhibit shorter telomeres. Conversely, the challenge response mobilizes resources effectively. Heart rate increases, but blood flow is directed efficiently to the brain and muscles. And while cortisol surges, it quickly normalizes after the event. Psychologically, this response fosters excitement, energy, and a proactive mindset. It's associated with improved performance, sharper decision-making, and enhanced brain aging, offering a protective shield for telomeres. The critical insight is that while we cannot always control external events, we can consciously shift our internal narrative, reframing physiological arousal not as panic, but fuel for focus and action. Beyond immediate stress reactions, persistent negative thought patterns inflict a silent, corrosive toll. Cynical hostility, characterized by deep-seated distrust and a tendency to view others as antagonistic, isn't just socially corrosive, it correlates with shorter telomeres and an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. These individuals often exhibit a dysregulated stress response, with elevated blood pressure persisting long after a stressful encounter, and a diminished reserve of positive coping mechanisms, like social support. Similarly, pessimism, the brain's habitual prediction of negative outcomes even in ambiguous situations, actively wears down cellular resilience, linking to shorter telomeres and faster disease progression. Negative mind wandering, where the mind drifts to unpleasant thoughts or a desire to be elsewhere for extended periods, independently predicts unhappiness and shorter telomeres. This mental dispersion, akin to constant mental multitasking, acts as a low-grade stressor. Its counter is unitasking, deep immersion in a single activity, which often fosters a state of flow and greater satisfaction. Rumination, the repetitive, unproductive replaying of problems, is another cellular adversary. It traps individuals in cycles of negative, self-critical thought, prolonging physiological stress responses and diminishing telomerase activity, thereby contributing to depression and anxiety, both conditions robustly linked to telomere shortening. Finally, thought suppression, the futile attempt to banish unwanted thoughts, ironically intensifies their presence, draining cognitive resources and leading to chronic stress arousal and heightened risk of depression, further impacting telomeres. The profound suffering caused by clinical depression and anxiety extends far beyond subjective experience. These pervasive mental health conditions demonstrably cast a long shadow over our cellular machinery, manifesting in shorter telomeres and significant disruptions to mitochondrial function and inflammatory processes. Individuals grappling with clinical anxiety often exhibit significantly shorter telomeres, with the effect intensifying with the duration of the condition. Encouragingly, when anxiety resolves, telomeres can recover, highlighting the importance of early intervention and treatment. Depression, even more robustly documented, also correlates with shorter telomeres, with a clear dose-response relationship related to severity and duration. While depressed individuals may paradoxically show increased telomerase activity in immune cells, this is often an ineffective cellular attempt to repair the ongoing telomere damage. Some antidepressant treatments have even been observed to boost telomerase, correlating with symptom improvement. The good news is that biology is not destiny. It is highly plastic. While severe stress can temporarily shorten telomeres, these changes often reverse, particularly for past anxious states or single stressful events. Even past depression, while potentially leaving a more persistent cellular mark, can see telomeres stabilized and potentially lengthened through supportive actions. The path to resilience lies not in eradicating these natural thought patterns, but in transforming our relationship to them. Resilient thinking involves cultivating practices that foster a healthier inner landscape. Thought awareness, often learned through meditation or mindfulness, allows us to observe thoughts as transient phenomena, like passing clouds, rather than being consumed by them. We learn to label them, accept their presence without judgment, and detach from their narrative power. Cultivating a strong purpose in life provides a bedrock of meaning, linking to higher telomerase activity and a more resilient stress response. Conscientiousness, characterized by organization, persistence, and self-control, is consistently associated with longer telomeres and increased longevity. Self-compassion, treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we would offer a friend, profoundly reduces stress hormones, anxiety, and depression, building inner strength without the corrosive effects of harsh self-criticism. Even simple daily rituals like waking up with gratitude can positively influence cortisol levels and telomerase activity. Furthermore, integrating mind-body practices like various forms of meditation, qigong, tai chi, and yoga consistently reduces stress and inflammation. Intensive meditation retreats, for example, have been linked to heightened telomerase activity and even lengthened telomeres in white blood cells. Structured programs like mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, effectively increase telomerase and stabilize telomere length in distressed individuals. Moving meditations, such as certain yogic practices or qigong, boost telomerase and reduce fatigue through deep states of concentration and relaxation. These practices offer concrete pathways to nurture the inner landscape, building cellular resilience and safeguarding telomeres against the relentless wear of modern life. Lifestyle architects, fueling and moving for cellular vitality. Our daily habits concerning movement, sleep, and nutrition are not merely about personal preference or temporary well-being. They are powerful architects, shaping the microscopic foundations of our health, directly influencing our telomeres. These consistent choices serve as a profound form of cellular programming, dictating the pace of aging and the length of our health span. Physical activity, for instance, acts as a physiological panacea, capable of transforming our cellular landscape. Regular movement mitigates cellular oxidative stress, a destructive state caused by unstable molecules that damage DNA. While exercise momentarily increases oxygen intake and free radical production, this mild stress triggers a robust physiological counter-response, enhancing the body's natural antioxidant defenses. This delicate balance, fine-tuned by consistent exertion, fortifies cells against damage. Moreover, exercise significantly reduces the release of cortisol, the chronic stress hormone, fostering a sense of calm and improving cellular sensitivity to insulin, thereby stabilizing blood sugar levels. Beyond these, consistent movement actively combats immunosenescence, the age-related decline of the immune system, effectively keeping it biologically younger and more robust against illness. Not all movement is created equal for telomere health, and both too little and, paradoxically, too much can be detrimental. Sedentariness is a clear adversary, directly contributing to shorter telomeres and metabolic imbalances. Studies reveal that moderately active individuals possess longer telomeres than their sedentary counterparts. Moderate aerobic activities, such as brisk walking or light jogging for 45 minutes several times a week, and high-intensity interval training, HIIT, have been shown to significantly increase telomerase activity, thereby replenishing telomeres. While resistance training may not directly boost telomerase, it is indispensable for maintaining bone density, muscle mass, balance, and coordination, all vital components of healthy aging. The crucial takeaway is the profound impact of aerobic fitness on cellular health. However, extreme chronic overexertion without adequate recovery can lead to overtraining syndrome, characterized by fatigue, mood swings, sleep disruption, and increased susceptibility to illness. This state generates excessive oxidative stress and can damage telomeres, illustrating that the too much point is highly individual and necessitates attentive listening to one's body. Even when life feels overwhelmingly stressful, physical activity acts as a potent stress buffer, shielding telomeres from damage. Incorporating small bursts of activity, like taking the stairs or standing up every hour, can meaningfully contribute to this cellular resilience. Complementing physical activity, restorative sleep is a cornerstone of cellular renewal. Poor sleep quality, chronic sleep debt, and untreated sleep disorders are consistently linked to diminished telomere length. Sleep is not a passive state. It is a meticulously orchestrated biological process that recalibrates our internal clock, regulates appetite, consolidates memories, and processes emotions. Crucially, our body's central timekeeper, relying on consistent light exposure and regular patterns, orchestrates nightly cellular housekeeping and DNA repair. At least 7 hours of quality sleep, particularly as we age, is consistently associated with healthy telomeres. Beyond duration, the quality, regularity, and rhythm of sleep are paramount, influencing our cells' ability to regulate telomerase. Insomnia is often compounded by anxiety about not sleeping, creating cognitive distortions that fuel the problem. Cultivating mindfulness, observing worries without judgment, and gently letting them go can diffuse this cycle. Creating a protected transition time before bed, unplugging from screens, minimizing blue light exposure, and maintaining consistent sleep-wake cycles are vital strategies for supporting cellular rest and telomere health. Beyond movement and rest, our metabolic health plays a critical role, arguably more so than raw weight numbers. The true adversaries are insulin resistance and the persistent presence of deep-seated belly fat rather than simply excess pounds. While body mass index, BMI, offers an incomplete picture, the composition of our weight, specifically intra-abdominal fat, is a hallmark of poor metabolic health. This type of fat is strongly associated with metabolic syndrome, a cluster of risk factors including abnormal cholesterol, high blood pressure, and insulin resistance, all precursors to heart disease, cancer, and type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance, where cells become less responsive to insulin signal, leads to elevated blood sugar and forces the pancreas to overwork, eventually contributing to its dysfunction. Shorter telomeres are intimately linked to both increased insulin resistance and a heightened risk of developing diabetes, often fueled by chronic inflammation from abdominal fat. Ironically, traditional dieting and yo-yo weight cycling, repeatedly gaining and losing weight, can be detrimental, potentially shortening telomeres and rewiring brain reward pathways in unhealthy ways. The constant mental load of cognitive dietary restraint, obsessing about eating less, is also a stressor, detrimental to telomere length. Instead of restrictive diets, the focus should shift to consistent physical activity and nutrient-dense, low-sugar foods to bolster metabolic health and, in turn, telomere integrity. This brings us to nutrition, a direct influencer of the three primary cellular adversaries: inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance. The destructive cycle of inflammation and telomere damage is exacerbated by rapid glucose surges from refined carbohydrates like white bread, pasta, sugary drinks, and excess alcohol. These foods trigger pro-inflammatory signals, eroding telomere length. Conversely, a vibrant intake of plant-based foods like berries, colorful vegetables, rich in flavonoids and carotenoids, along with omega-3 fatty acids found in oily fish, nuts, flaxseed, and leafy greens, powerfully combats inflammation and protects telomeres. Higher blood levels of omega-3s are directly linked to slower telomere decline and improved survival. Oxidative stress, where an imbalance of free radicals overwhelms the body's antioxidant defenses, particularly damages the GGG segments of telomeres, accelerating their shortening and reducing telomerase activity. A robust intake of antioxidants from whole fruits, e.g. citrus, berries, apples, and vegetables, e.g. carrots, leafy greens, tomatoes, beans, nuts, seeds, and green tea, acts as a cellular shield. While antioxidant supplements are often inconclusive and sometimes problematic, obtaining these benefits directly from whole foods generally ensures better absorption and potent effects. Finally, insulin resistance, fueled by frequent blood sugar spikes from liquid candy like sugary sodas, directly correlates with accelerated telomere shortening, an impact comparable to that of smoking. To counteract this, high-fiber foods, e.g. whole wheat bread, brown rice, barley, vegetables, and whole fruits, are essential as they slow sugar absorption, prevent sharp insulin spikes, and combat belly fat accumulation. Moreover, maintaining adequate vitamin D levels, often deficient in many populations, is associated with lower mortality and may support telomerase activity. Ultimately, telomere science champions a prudent dietary pattern, an emphasis on abundant vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and quality lean proteins, while minimizing refined carbohydrates, sugary beverages, and processed or excessive red meats. Such habits consistently correlate with longer telomeres and better health outcomes across diverse populations. Transforming these critical lifestyle insights into lasting habits requires strategic foresight. Begin by honestly assessing your readiness for a desired change, e.g. a brisk daily walk, ensuring it connects to deep intrinsic values, e.g. maintaining independence for family, experiencing joy. Cultivate confidence by shrinking goals to undeniably achievable steps and proactively planning for potential obstacles. For new habits, introduce them in small, non-threatening doses, staple them to existing routines, leverage the morning's green light zone, and practice don't decide, just do to bypass internal debate. Reinforce efforts with mini celebrations of success. To break old habits, bolster your executive function through exercise, meditation, nutritious foods, avoid attempting change when depleted by stress or poor sleep, shape your surroundings to minimize temptation, and align efforts with your natural energy rhythms. Crucially, social support acts as a powerful accelerant, making the journey to lasting renewal a shared, sustainable endeavor. Integrative Analysis Implications. The remarkable science of telomeres reveals that our health and longevity are not predetermined, but rather a dynamic tapestry woven from our individual choices, emotional landscapes, and the broader social and physical environments we inhabit. These protective caps on our chromosomes serve as an objective, sensitive barometer, meticulously registering every subtle input, from a comforting embrace to a toxic pollutant, and adjusting our cellular destiny accordingly. This understanding transforms our perception of aging from an inevitable decline into an opportunity for active stewardship, emphasizing that our genetic hardware is profoundly influenced by the software of our lives, our epigenome. This intricate dance of influence begins even before birth, highlighting profound transgenerational impacts. The foundational length of a child's telomeres, which dictates their initial advantage or vulnerability, can be directly transmitted from parents via their egg and sperm. If parents' telomeres are already shortened by years of chronic stress, poverty, or unhealthy habits, this cellular burden can be passed on, leading to babies born base pairs behind. Should these children then face similar adversities, their telomeres may erode further, establishing a concerning cycle of accelerated aging across generations and providing a biological basis for persistent health disparities. Moreover, a mother's health and emotional state during pregnancy, her nutrition, stress levels, and emotional well-being profoundly sculpt her baby's developing telomeres. Severe prenatal stress, for instance, can lead to significantly shorter telomeres at birth, with effects that can persist for decades into adulthood. Childhood experiences continue this critical programming. Studies in vulnerable populations, such as children in emotionally deprived orphanages, clearly demonstrate that severe neglect leads to shortened telomeres. Conversely, nurturing environments can foster resilience, even partially reversing early damage. The accumulation of adverse childhood experiences, like abuse or household dysfunction, is consistently linked to shorter telomeres in adulthood, predisposing individuals to a higher risk of chronic disease. This biological embedding of early adversity underscores an urgent imperative. Protecting and nurturing children is not just a moral good, but a direct investment in the long-term cellular health of future generations. Beyond the family unit, the places and faces that populate our lives exert undeniable influence. Neighborhoods characterized by fear, lack of trust, or physical disorder are detrimental to telomere health, while access to green spaces and strong community bonds are protective. Socioeconomic factors like poverty are linked to shorter telomeres, while education generally correlates with longer ones. Our telomeres are also susceptible to environmental toxins, pesticides, heavy metals, and airborne pollutants, some of which directly shorten them, while others, like dioxins, can dangerously lengthen them in ways that signal cancer risk. Perhaps most powerfully, the quality of our social connections acts as a profound buffer against stress. Social isolation accelerates telomere shortening, while supportive friendships, meaningful partnerships, and even active social cohesion within communities foster resilience. Discrimination based on any aspect of identity emerges as a potent stressor linked to significantly shorter telomeres in targeted groups. The implications are far-reaching. Telomeres sound a powerful alarm, revealing that widespread societal issues, such as income inequality, which exacerbates stress, violence, and poor health outcomes across all socioeconomic strata, directly contribute to cellular wear and tear. This calls for a paradigm shift from solely individual-focused health interventions to broader social policies that actively reduce societal stress, protect children, ensure access to nutritious food, and mitigate environmental pollution. Ultimately, the message from our telomeres is one of profound interconnectedness. We are not isolated biological entities. Our cells carry the legacy of our ancestors, are shaped by our immediate environment, influenced by our social networks, and destined to pass on their state to the next generation. Recognizing this biological and experiential interdependence compels us towards compassion, not merely as an ethical stance, but as a biological imperative. To nurture our telomeres is to nurture ourselves, our children, our communities, and the very health of the planet. While commercial telomere tests exist, their individual utility is limited. A comprehensive understanding of the protective and risky factors illuminated by telomere science offers a more actionable and empowering roadmap for cultivating a robust and enduring health span. The vibrant life we aspire to and the thriving world we wish to create are inextricably linked to the health of these microscopic guardians of our cellular legacy. Actionable exercises. 1. Reframe your stress into a challenge. Our bodies react differently to perceived threats versus challenges, and this distinction profoundly impacts your telomeres. When facing a demanding situation, your brain can interpret it as a danger, triggering a threat response that constricts blood vessels and releases damaging stress hormones. However, you can learn to shift this to a challenge response, which mobilizes your resources, boosts blood flow to your brain, and empowers you to perform better. Practice. Identify one current ongoing stressor in your life, perhaps a difficult project, a tight deadline, or a personal hurdle. For the next week, whenever you feel the physical signs of stress, e.g., racing heart, tight stomach, pause. Instead of labeling these feelings as fear or anxiety, mentally reframe them. Tell yourself, my body is getting energized and ready to focus. This is fuel, not a threat. Notice how this subtle shift in perception can change your emotional and physical experience, helping you harness stress for purpose rather than allowing it to erode your cellular health. 2. The telomere nourishing plate experiment. What you eat directly influences inflammation, oxidative stress, and insulin resistance, major enemies of your telomeres. Instead of drastic diets, focus on conscious additions and subtractions. Practice. For the next month, choose one meal each day, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, to transform into a telomere-nourishing plate. 1. Add abundance. Ensure this meal is packed with colorful vegetables, fruits, and healthy fats, like those from avocados, nuts, or seeds. Think deep reds, purples, and greens. Include sources of omega-3s, such as flaxseed, walnuts, or fatty fish if you eat it. 2. Reduce refined. Consciously minimize refined carbohydrates, white bread, pasta, sugary drinks, and processed meats at this chosen meal. By consistently making this one meal a cellular powerhouse, you begin to build sustainable habits that protect your telomeres and overall health. 3. Craft your mindful sleep landing. Consistent, quality sleep is paramount for telomere maintenance and cellular repair, but winding down can be a challenge. Your mind needs a gentle transition, not an abrupt shutdown. Practice. Create a mindful sleep landing routine for the last 15-30 minutes before you aim to fall asleep. 1. Unplug. Step away from all screens, phone, tablet, computer, TV, at least 30 minutes before bedtime. The blue light suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals sleep. 2. Gentle transition. Engage in a quiet, pleasant activity. This could be reading a physical book, listening to calming music or a podcast, light stretching, or even a short guided meditation focused on body awareness. 3. Observe nighttime worries. If your mind starts racing with worries about tomorrow or thoughts about not sleeping, simply observe them without judgment. Acknowledge the thought, but don't engage with it. Gently bring your attention back to your calming activity or your breath. This practice helps diffuse the anxiety that often fuels insomnia. 4. Cultivate thought awareness and self-compassion. Negative thinking patterns like rumination, cynicism, and self-criticism can actively shorten your telomeres by prolonging stress. You can't always stop these thoughts, but you can change your relationship with them. Practice. For 1 week, become an observer of your own thoughts, especially those that are repetitive, critical, or pessimistic. 1. Notice and label. When you catch yourself dwelling on a problem, replaying a negative interaction, or being harshly self-critical, simply notice it. Mentally label it. Ah, that's rumination, or there's that self-criticism again. 2. Create distance. Imagine these thoughts as clouds passing in the sky or traffic moving past you. You don't have to get in the car or climb on the cloud, just let them pass. 3. Offer self-compassion. Respond to your inner critic or anxious thoughts with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a dear friend. Mentally say, "This is tough right now, and it's okay to feel this way. I'm doing my best." This practice lessens the emotional grip of negative thoughts and reduces their cellular impact. 5. Energize with movement snacks and build aerobic fitness. Sedentariness is a telomere shortening factor, while regular exercise boosts telomerase and reduces inflammation. You don't need to be an elite athlete. Consistency and moderate effort are key. Practice. Integrate movement into your day, even in small bursts, and aim for foundational aerobic fitness. 1. Movement snacks. Every hour, stand up and move for 2 to 5 minutes. This could be stretching, walking to get water, taking the stairs, or doing a few squats. Use a timer if needed. These snacks combat prolonged sitting and boost circulation. 2. Build your aerobic base. Commit to 3 30-minute brisk walks each week. A brisk walk means your heart rate is elevated and you can still talk but not sing. If 30 minutes is too much, start with 10-15 minutes and gradually increase. Aerobic fitness is strongly linked to longer telomerase and improved cellular health. Find activities you enjoy to make this a sustainable habit. That wraps up our exploration of today's book. If even one idea here gave you something to reflect on, give it a like so YouTube knows to share more with you. And if you'd like the next insight in your feed, hit subscribe. Remember, what you heard today is our independent interpretation, enriched with analysis and exercises. The full book has far more depth, so consider reading it to experience the author's work directly. Thanks for listening to DeftU Insights, where we turn great books into tools for growth.